Happy Wednesday, my dudes. Today we got somebody on with us, Preston. He's a LIA member. So we're gonna chat through some of the things that he's going through right now in his business. Um, as we all know, like this business, yeah, it's sometimes you get really high highs, sometimes you got low lows, and it's just how do we get through these and how do we find the bunnies in these types of situations and find these little things that'll make everything kind of stick together. I also dropped a link in here, landinvestor.co/apply if you want to schedule a 15-minute call. See if you are a good fit for LIA. So drop it right in there. And just so you guys know too, Land Insights, we have opened up 50 more seats. A bunch of them have already been taken. So I think we have probably less than 45 already. So it's going quick. So make sure you guys hop on here, landinsights.co/apply. It's right there. And then this is always the free Chrome extension. This is completely free. We use this all the time for our pricing of the data and stuff like that. We could look at it. It's pretty sick. So hop on there. I'm gonna bring Preston on. What's up, man?
Hey, Dennis.
How we doing, brother?
Good. Just working, sending out mailers. Same stuff, same old stuff.
So tell me a little bit about what's been going on. I know you said we were talking off screen. You started off this year, you've been sending out consistent mail, but it's just some stuff's not clicking, right?
Yeah. So my first 3 mailers, pretty low response rate. So I was looking for demand, and I was thinking, well, when I was picking out my markets, I was like, well, let's see here. We need demand because we all know that land takes a while to sell, and you don't want to get stuck with some stinkers because you don't want to do all this work just to have things listed, but they never come to fruition. That's no good. So I tried to kind of avoid the states that I thought everyone was mailing to, like North Carolina, Florida, places like that. So I thought, well, let's see here, maybe the Midwest. So I did a bunch of Michigan. I did a bunch of Ohio. So for those first 3 mailers, I sent about 15,000 letters. I'd say about maybe half of those were Michigan and Ohio counties. And those ones were the ones that I got the lowest response rates out of. I mean, sure, there's a little bit of time left before they fully seasoned, but I mean, just I could tell from the FU calls and everything that the response rate was not good. Like they didn't like that. And I have my theories. I mean, they are high demand counties, but I do think I priced them according to the guidelines. I did price them I priced them from maybe 50 to 60% for those counties. Now, I did notice that there were, and I noticed this at the beginning too, there's a lot of ag in those counties, agricultural stuff in those counties. And the angriest responses I got were from the people with ag because these are business people like us. They're turning profits. It's not an easy business, ag, being a farmer. And they're getting, what I'm realizing is they're getting these letters all the time. And oftentimes they're mispriced because we're looking at stuff on the MLS and it's cleared or it has trees on it. There's nothing really going on there. And we're like, well, I want properties like that. But we catch a lot of ag because a lot of these counties that I picked, unfortunately, I'd say they're probably 40, 50% ag.
Wow.
So I got a very poor response from those first 3 mailers. I sent out 7,500 in the last month. And this is looking more promising. I did more subdivision pricing, and I really tried to stay away from ag. I lowered my average acquisition cost a bit too. So in the previous 3 mailers, the average acquisition price was around, let's say, 45 to 60,000. So it was a lot. There were some $100,000 plus offers in there. So I got a lot more leads on this mailer, and a lot of which I'm currently working through. Not all of them are great. In fact, a lot of them are pretty bad. Like some of these subdivisions are just really not very good. Like they're not properties that I interested in buying or having an investor invest in.
Mhm.
So I might have the opposite problem in a way right now. Like I'm getting a lot of underqualified leads right now.
Sure.
But I mean, we don't know yet. There are a couple leads from the first 15,000 mailers I sent that I might be able to make something work out of. It's just that the sellers, they're a little flaky. They're old.
Mhm.
They have their motivation is quite low. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm probably speaking to millionaires in a lot of these cases if they own like 40 acres in Michigan or something like that.
Right.
So we'll see how those work out. I'm working pretty hard on everything, but I did notice a lot more traction with this previous mailer.
Mhm. About how many counties are you hitting per mailing set, would you say?
So probably, let's see here. In the smaller mailers like that were like 5K, I'd say maybe 8 to 10, and in the larger one, it's looking like maybe 12 to 15, something like that.
Okay. And did you say you're scrubbing your data pretty good?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I do my best to scrub my data, landlocks, flood zone,
Sure.
Anything with significant structures on it. So I haven't been getting just bad leads all the time. What I'm getting is a lot of leads, not a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say when you scrub your data, you're going to get some like a little bit less leads, but it's all the bad ones are just gone.
Yeah.
Right. So you might have less leads, but your contract rate should be a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You'll actually get more under contract just because the leads that do come in are good. Right. When we're scrubbing, we scrub out a lot of the bad deals that we don't want these calls from. Right. And that enables us to kind of like just get the good ones under contract and move forward with those. And it does suck. We do hit a lot of counties each time. I'd say we probably hit about 15 counties per mailing set. So you're about on par with that. And are you mailing single states every time? Or are you doing like, a couple different states?
Well, let's say for the recent mailer I'm working on, I'll start with one state, and as like every week I'll send out like 2,000 mailers or something like that, 2,500 mailers, and they will usually consist of a different state.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say it might be good to mix in a bunch of different states at once, so that because it could be a little bit lumpy, right? So if you plan on mailing like 20 counties in North Carolina, 10 in South Carolina, 20 in Georgia, whatever the case may be, maybe instead of doing all of North Carolina 1 month, all of South Carolina 1 month, all of Georgia 1 month, separate them out a little bit, parse them out, and just do like I like do 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, a little bit of a mix, because now you're hitting different states at different times, and you might have a little bit different lead flow, because it's a lot of timing of the market, right? When you hit a county, they might not call you back for 3, 4, 5 months, right?
Sure.
So, and they're usually going to call. They're usually going to call like, when they need to sell, right? So they might you might hit them at the right exact time if you hit them in August, but if you hit them in June, you might not be at the right time, right? So sometimes it's a crapshoot, right? But if you spread yourself out a little bit further, you might have a little bit better of a shot.
Yeah.
Right? That's just a thought too. As far as the type of leads you're getting, they're decent leads, or are they always like this hard to process kind of thing?
Well, I'm getting a lot of that. Like, I'm getting a lot of hard to process stuff. I'm getting a lot of weird. Sorry, focusing the lens again. I'm getting a lot of weird situations. I'm getting a lot of like the title stuff, or there might be some junk on the lot or something like that. So I don't know why I'm so blurry right now. 1 second, let me just turn off my camera.
Yeah, got it.
Might be time for a new camera.
Yeah, I have the Logi 922. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah,
like $60 or $80 on Amazon.
Yeah, it just doesn't want to focus. Better. In any case, sorry everyone, I'm blurry right now.
Yeah, you're good.
So I'll get a new camera. So it's either that or there's just poor motivation. I have a bit of a sales background, and
Okay.
I'm getting more sales training right now besides just your calls that I try to attend religiously.
Yeah, you're always there. I know.
But I mean, in sales, you want to see what the customer needs, and you find that little crack there. Like you and Sumner talk about, why are they selling? That's the most important question.
Timeline, motivation, price. Three pillars.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been sold in previous land education that it's, oh, you're gonna find that person who's like, well, I need to get a new car because my new car is broken or something like that, or I have some health bills or something like that.
Right.
What I'm finding with the mailers that I'm sending out right now is there's no real impetus. Like they just, if they can get it for the price they want it, then they'll sell it. But it's not, the 30-day close is super important to me. That's not what I'm finding out for my mailers.
Yeah.
Very rarely am I hearing anything like that. Unless it's like a really crappy property and they're just like, please get off my hands. Please, I really want this.
Yeah, I bought two so far that people were like, I'm going to buy a new car. That's why they sold. One was in North Carolina. One was in Florida. The guy was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to sell. I need to buy a new truck. So might as well just sell this land that I'm not using. And the other lady was like, she was like thanking me. She's like, thank you so much. I can't believe. She's like, I needed this. I needed to buy a new car and all this stuff. So, but that's not all the time. And when we talked, that wasn't the reason why they were selling, right? They were just selling because they had to sell. And then they were like, well, I could use this money to get a new car. So it's not always a thing. The motivation I find a lot of times are, actually, you know what? You find a lot of times that people do have motivation to sell, but most of the time their motivation to sell, it's just that they don't use it, right?
That's basically it. Yeah.
It's not like houses. A lot of houses, like, it's costing them a ton of money for keeping it, right? Usually people are selling land or like, yeah, it's not costing me that much, maybe $100 a year for taxes, but they're just like, I don't use it, and it's just becoming a nuisance. It's a property that I don't look at, go to, or anything like that. So it's like, why not put cash in the bank kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm noticing. A lot of people are the reason why they're selling. So at that point, you have to show, what you could do for them, why you're the best fit for them, right? Because other land investors are probably mailing them too, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
How does Preston stand out amongst the crowd? That's kind of it, right? And how could you make yourself stand out? What are some things that you could do that would make you stand out versus any other land investor, right? And that's the stuff you need to kind of like put preface on when you're talking to people, right? Are there a lot of people that are saying like you're in bidding wars or competitions or anything like that, or no?
Quite a few, especially on the properties that I really want, especially on anything that's over 80 grand in market price, stuff like that. They get more offers for it. That's what people aren't seemingly mailing right now.
Sure. Okay. And with those, when you handle that call, are you like on top of it? Like, are you there constantly trying to make it work, or are you just like, what does that cadence look like? Your follow up and all that stuff.
I'm pretty aggressive with my follow up, maybe even a little too aggressive. Like, I'm wondering if people are like, because there are some people who have ghosted me, and I managed to like grab them maybe a couple of weeks later for a little bit. But I'm wondering if those people are marking me as a spam caller or something like that. Because I know.
Yeah. Have you mailed anybody anything?
I'm actually going to try some of that. Like, I'm actually going to try one guy. He has 40 acres in Michigan, and we talk quite extensively. And all of a sudden, either he died or went to the hospital, or he just doesn't like me for some reason. I might send him some of your wife's cookies.
There you go. Yeah, let me know about that if you want to do that. But I do that, and sometimes I'll just call like a local pizza joint and just send them pizza, or I'll call it because it doesn't cost you like $15 for a pie, right? Sure. And you could have them write on the box like, "Hey, it's Preston, call me," kind of thing, right? I've done that. I've done basically anything. You can call like any kind of local delivery service and see if they'll deliver you something, or just send them like a bubble mailer with something in it, like a knickknack or whatever the hell you want to do, and like a little handwritten letter.
Yeah.
Cost you like $10 and just send it out, right?
Uh,
I do stuff like that. Anything that's going to catch your attention, right? I had a property in Oklahoma that we were trying to get, and it was really tough one. She was like all for it. I talked to the sons, the kids, like all four kids. Everything was great. All of a sudden, they just ghosted, and they're like, "Hey, we're thinking of." And then finally, I get a hold of the son. He's like, "Hey, I think we're gonna go with somebody else, or we're gonna do something different."
yeah.
I was like, "Okay, fine." I said, "Tell me, what's wrong?" And he's like, "I gotta go. Bye," and just hung up. And I was like, "Oh, what the hell?" So I did. I sent her a box of 6 cookies, and I sent her a handwritten note, and I sent her a couple other things in the box. She called me back. She's like, "Thank you." She's like, "The cookies were so good. I appreciate it." Blah blah blah. She's like, "Sorry, we really didn't get back in touch with you, but we ended up one of our neighbors wants to buy the property."
Sure.
Okay, cool, no problem. Just wanted to know where we stand, this and
Right.
that. She's like, "I do really appreciate the way you reached out and everything like that. We didn't buy the property, it's fine, but it's one of those things where it just sets yourself apart a little bit."
Definitely.
It's not for everything. Don't do this for every deal because you'll go broke.
Yeah.
It's just for the ones that like you're on that little bit of an edge where you're just about to make it happen, and then just boom, put yourself over the edge, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So if there's anything like that, that's one you could call. I mean, we've called one of your leads the other day. Do you want to call another lead now?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
I'll call 'em?
there's stuff that I'm still working on, so I mean, I think those are okay. But we could call that one lead that she has a decent property in a high demand market, but she just at the time she wouldn't budge on price. But I do think that she would have some impetus to sell this property, so we could try
Okay.
picking up there.
So what's the tell me the story with the price. Where does it need to be at? Where are you at?
Yeah, let me pull that up here. So,
Just don't share any APNs or anything like that
of
here. We're on
course,
all of YouTube,
yeah.
It's not our local sales calls where we could do that stuff.
No. All right. So it's 13.67 acres in Mecosta, Michigan, a Michigan property. Very high sell through rate, very low days on market in that property. But this property does have a little hair on it. First off, I think there might be some junk in the back of the property. And also, it's right next to their house, which I think might be encroaching a little bit into this property, like the property lines. The thing is,
those types of properties are tough. And the reason why is just because if you end up getting that under contract, then
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, how do you resell it, right? They're going to be a little bit of a like, oh, why is this on the market? Why are you selling it? This and that. So, I mean, it doesn't, not to say you can't do that. It's just that it is a little tough. But yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And they want market price for it. So like
Okay.
I kind of wrote that off for now. I might reach back in a little bit, but it's like you said, it's tough. Like even though, and it's $60,000. So even though you can do all that work, you can get all the junk off, you can get them we can fix the encroachment and everything. I mean, I'm not sure if the juice is worth a squeeze for something.
Sure. I agree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got? Anything else you want to call? Any ghosts lately?
Oh yeah. I have a ghost. So I have I have another property in Michigan. It's 40 acres. This is the one I might send some cookies to. So he's an older gentleman. He's been through 2 surgeries recently, and I'm hoping if he went through a 3rd surgery, it didn't end him, and maybe that's why he's not talking to me anymore. But he has 40 acres.
Yeah.
He has 40 acres in Manistee, which is a pretty hot county. And it's really weird. When he called me, he's like, "Why are you offering me so much? Why are you guys offering me so much?" Because he bought this back in like the early 90s or something, and it was like pennies on the dollar compared to what it is right now. And so what I found out was I do think he cares about the price, but what he really cared about in this case was that his friend lives underneath that property. Doesn't live there, but has a hunting lodge there, and he uses his property to go up to the public hunting lands that are just north of this parcel. So I was like, I tried to fix the problem and differentiate myself with something other than just price. And I said, hey, listen, we can, as part of the closing agreement, we can, once the title is clear, we can have some surveyors come and get an easement, record a legal description for us with an easement, a boundary easement for your friend. And that way you don't have to worry about your friend not being able to use those public hunting lands for him and his family. And he actually perked up at that, but I haven't heard from him since. I hope something didn't happen. But I've tried calling him quite a few times and he hasn't picked up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So price wise, are you good on price? You need to come down. Where do we got to be?
Price wise, I think it's more or less okay. It's a buy for 68, probably sell for 140 or 150.
Okay.
It's county, like stuff there goes, even 40 acres will go in less than a month.
Okay. So do you want to I'll try calling him and see if we get him to answer.
Yeah,
and
sure.
then
if we can get him on the line.
Okay. What are my talking points?
Well, the big one is that we can get him that easement to public lands up north of his property. That's very important for him because that was a big sticking point for him. That was a big objection is, yeah, the price is okay, but I don't want to burn a bridge with my friend by like basically landlocking him from his hunting lands up north because hunting.
We'll get a boundary line easement, and that's that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. So boundary line easement. And then that gives us his friend access. And what's the offer price? 68, you said? 60?
68,000, yes.
All right. Do you want me to go for 68 or go for less?
You know, we could because he doesn't really sound like he doesn't really think that this land is that valuable, you know, and that actually raised a little bit of red flags for me. I was like, maybe it's not that valuable, but when I look at the comps and I look at everything out there, I'm like, this is worth at least 120, 130 grand, like on a really bad day. But I think 68 is where to go because I think with a little bit of work, it might even sell higher than that. Than the 140 I was talking about.
Okay. Can you send me in the private chat here, send me the info and then send me the APN in the county and I'll pull it up on my screen and then I'll give him a ring. Sure. You said what state was it?
It's in Michigan.
Michigan. And county?
Manistee.
Okay. And then I'll just send me the APN and his phone number and his name and I'll give him a ring.
Yeah, let me do that.
And then what we'll do is I'll text me your company name too.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll try to call him, and if I do end up getting him on contract or getting him to agree to a contract, you have his email and all that stuff?
Well, he doesn't have an email. And I would have to send a notary to this guy. He's that old.
That's fine. So what we could do is set that all up and just say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set you up with the notary, all that stuff. Not a big deal at all. All right. So I'm going to pull it up real quick. All right. So he's got the road frontage on Holkerton. Okay. And who's his friend? Is
the gentleman who has he owns two properties. He owns the one just south of this property and the one to the right.
Okay, just south and to the right.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, dude, so you barely need an easement.
Well, yeah.
I mean, well, he can't go down Holkerton Road to get onto his property?
Well, according to what the seller told me, what we're seeing right there isn't quite how it is. So
Okay.
I can't verify that one way or the other. That's why I'm saying we probably would want to get a
We'll
survey.
get something recorded.
Yeah.
Recorded and attach it. Okay. That's not a big deal.
Yeah. And if you turn on your wetlands, you'll see that there's quite a bit of wetlands in the middle.
Sure.
Still lots of space in this property. I mean, it's 40 acres, but this would be primarily a hunting property. Like just to the north, there's hundreds of acres of public lands.
Yeah, I see that just to the north state of Michigan. It's a prime property for hunting because you have all this stuff that's all state of Mich that people could all hunt on. This is ideal actually, and it just continues to go. Holy crap, that's a lot. It goes all the way up north.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, he's not using it for hunting anymore. He's too old. He and his family are all over the place. So
yeah,
it's just sitting there. So he wants to sell it and he wants to do right by his family. So I'm here to help him with that. But if he doesn't pick up the phone or if something happened to him, then there's only so much I can do.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let me give him a ring. You hear that, guys?
I can hear it.
Okay.
Hello. No, but he's not here right now.
Okay.
What's this concerning?
We're talking about the property over in Michigan, in Manistee.
Oh. You've talked to him before?
Yeah, Preston has with Newport Land. Yeah, we were talking about the property and getting an easement done for Edmund, the property to the north right of him.
Okay. I'll tell him you call him.
Okay, when's a good time for me to call him back?
I don't know how long it's going to be.
Oh, okay. So do you think like around like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock would be better or something like that? Or you're not too sure?
Mm-hmm. He's going to have surgery in a few days.
Oh, wow. Sure. Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you. You have a good day. Bye now. So we didn't have surgery yet.
Yeah. I feel like with this deal, there might not be that much time. So
I would just call back regardless and just play stupid. If anything, call back and just be like, oh, I didn't realize Dennis called and just tried to follow up. That's all. So call back either later today or tomorrow.
Yeah. That's good though that someone picked up. The last 2 times I called over last week, no one's picked up. So I'll try again.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that I had a different number.
Right? That could be it. I'm a little, Mm-hmm.
Do you have different numbers in your CRM you could call through?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Try calling through different numbers and seeing if that helps. Right. Because sometimes that's what happens is like you can't get a hold of them because they see your number all the time. But if you if you call from a different number, they can often like actually answer.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, in the LIA method, as Sumner said, you're not salesy on the calls, but you're salesy with the follow up, and you have that 14-day cadence, it's a pretty aggressive cadence. And sometimes I wonder if some people are put off by that, like they just see you.
It depends on the deal, but when you're calling, it's not always just to call and like talk about the land and seeing if they're ready to sell. A lot of it's just checking in, right?
Yeah.
And sharing little bits of information. Like when you first do this stuff, when you start talking to a seller, you start to find out little information about them, right? Maybe interests that they like and things like that. If he's like, whatever. Or like this, he's having surgery, right? So something like this, dude, send him something to get well, right? Send him a quick little like I don't know, you could send him anything. Flowers, soup. They have like there's a website. I think it's like what the heck's it called? Let me look it up. It's like chicken you could mail chicken soup to somebody.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I think I'm definitely gonna do that now that I know that my concerns were valid, that he might be having a health issue.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
So this is a company I've used before, Grandma's Chicken Soup. So you could mail like a gift package, and it would just be like a thing of chicken soup, or you could like add bread and this and that, like all this stuff, whatever you want to do. And you could just mail them that, like a little get well card and whatever. It says, chicken soup with add a bread and then send a gift message. Boom, here you go. So I've seen people do that before. It actually, dude, it works really well, Um, so this is an idea, doing stuff like that. So I've done that before. That definitely helps. That's grandmaschickenSoup.com.
Mm-hmm.
Check them out. But I think cookies, whatever you got, man, you could just ship them right out, and you're good to go. All right. So, what other things are you kind of like seeing you're struggling with, or whatever?
Well, so this guy right here, this guy is actually pretty good. Like when I talk to him, yeah, price is important to him, but what is really important to him is that he gets a fair price for it, but his friend gets that easement. And I think a lot of investors would just dodge that. They'd be like, well, let's offer him 80, let's offer him 70, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whereas that wouldn't get anywhere because this guy, I've been talking to him for, better part of a month and a half right now. So, but what I'm finding is a lot of people, if you make a cash offer, they just won't budge on the price.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pricing issue. And like I said, I'd say you're correct in what you said before. One of the biggest reasons why people want to sell their land is because, well, they're not using it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And if the costs of ownership are low, then they can just hold on to it like a Beanie Baby or a Pokemon card.
Right.
Let's see, maybe it'll be worth 5 times what it is when my grandchildren get it. But
right.
So there, in that sense, the motivation, like offering them a quick close or offering them like, here, we're just going to wire transfer you. It doesn't really hit the spot for them. So what I'm thinking is we have to try to work the double close, because if you ask them, do you have 90 days? Then most of them will say yes to that. They're not in such a financial crunch if they own like hundreds of acres or 40 acres of land or something like that, where they need that super fast close. The issue I'm kind of seeing is when I offer the cash close and the double close on the same call or different calls, they kind of see what's up. Like they're like, what? No. I want the high price with the cash close.
Right.
What's this thing about shopping it around and stuff like that with your network of investors? And what's this thing on the contract about being able to sign this thing? Like that kind of shuts them down. So
yeah, it's almost like push for cash. And if you just can't get them to sign that contract, that's when you go for the double close. Right.
But what I'm finding is when I offer the cash and I offer a double close, afterwards they smell something fishy because they're like, whoa, no, wait, I want the higher price with the cash close. And I'm trying, like, one thing that I'm really trying to do right now is I'm really trying to improve my process for explaining double closes.
Sure.
But one thing I'm also noticing, because I've talked to a lot of sellers and realtors, by the way, who have been through this process and unfortunately have had bad experiences, the double close process. And what a lot of the sellers are telling me, and this is one reason every time I bring up the double close, they don't want to do it with me, is that a lot of people, they're skipping some parts of that pitch. Like they're not saying they're shopping it around. They're just saying, oh, well, I have someone who's going to buy it and like a funder or something like that. We just have to do some due diligence. And then they list it and everything. It's on the MLS. And then like 90 days later, when the contract expires, they're like, oof, well, tough luck. So, and all the while the seller is getting other offers or the neighbor wants to buy it or something like that. So it's quite unfair. So I'm trying to.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to say, like, that's the problem, is because you actually have a heart and you care. And
Yeah.
that's the problem. A lot of guys, they don't care. They're just like, oh, I just don't tell anything, and then I just do my thing, and then whatever. And if they can't, whatever. They
Yeah,
don't care.
I'm never going to meet this guy again. Let's get 20 of these suckers signed up, and maybe 12 of them will sell, and
Right.
I'll
That's
still make 50 grand.
Yeah.
And whenever I pitch it with the cash close, they see the difference, and they're like, "Ooh, I don't want that. That's scary. Like that sounds sketchy. I heard about this on TV, like stuff like that." So I'm trying to find that fine line where I don't, as Sumner says, over explain it, but I'm also like, I've always, like you said, like I have always been transparent with all my customers in all my businesses. And that's what has done well for me. So it's very unnatural for me to say, well, we need 90 days and we're just going to do some due diligence on it. I have a bunch of buyers lined up. That makes me feel a little gross.
Yeah. See, I don't ever even do that. I just go for the cash, and that's it. And I'm doing that. My contract that I do send out, it does still have the marketing guidelines in it and all that stuff, and nobody really ever questions it. But I'm not pre-marketing a property. It's just there just in case.
Yeah.
So if we run into a snag, or I have to adjust the price, or if I notice something's wrong with the property, that's when I'll just say, hey, look, here's the thing. I got to adjust the price. We'll adjust the price. And we could either close it, or just, you got to give me a little more time. And then I'll just say, we have 90 days on the contract. We'll go through that, whatever. But for the most part, if I'm contracting, I'm planning on buying. So maybe instead of presenting both options on the phone, just shoot for the cash. Just go for that.
Yeah.
And then if they are like, up in the air, whatever the case may be, like they're not ready to commit, then you just got to ask, like, well, look, what's the reason why you're not ready to sell? Obviously, there's something going on here, right? That you're not telling me. I can't get into your brain. I don't know what's going on. So what is it?
98% of the time for me, it's the price.
It's always the price. And I would say to them, like, okay, is it price? Is it the price? Because if it's the price, let's talk. And then I'll explain things. We talk about this in our sales calls, but I break down a lot of things. Like if my goal is to build on it, or my goal is to do X, Y, and Z on it, or hunt on it, find a hunter on it, whatever. I'll kind of break stuff down on those things. Like, right. So if I'm like, okay, I'm going to build in the house. Great. So here's the cost to build, right? Mm-hmm. So I break down what's my cost to build a square foot, a 1,500 square foot house, right?
Yeah.
It's cost for foundation, utilities, blah, blah, blah. I break all that stuff down, and I'm like, what can I sell this thing for or get a loan for once it's done? Okay, let's say it's $400,000. And then I break down all that numbers and everything like that, and then I work myself backwards into a price. And that's when they're like understanding, like, oh, so Preston needs to buy this at 10% of the home value.
Right.
For it to make sense, right? Yeah. Now I get it, right? And the other thing I would say is, like, if I'm going for hunting, okay, on a 40-acre plot, I could lease it out to 4 different sets of hunters. Each hunter pays me $2,500 per year to lease out the 10 acres to hunt on, right? $10,000. Now, how much is my tax? My tax is 200 or 500 or 1,000, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So what am I gaining? Am I going to be able to make any money? What's my return on investment? If I buy this for $60K, how long does it take me to get back my investment, right?
Right.
So if you're making, $7,000 a year leasing it out to hunters, and you bought it for $70K, that's, a 10% ROI. And then that's the stuff you got to present them with, right?
And that's how I typically do it right now. Like, especially the builder part, because I'm not lying to them. Everyone who buys the land eventually is going to at least think about building on it. And everyone knows how expensive it is to build.
Yeah.
Like
$165 a square, basic house. Yeah.
Very basic house, like barely anything, nothing special. Right. So they understand it. And when I tell them about the topography and this and that, they understand that, they get that. But it always comes back to what I think is with the hard leads is they don't need to sell at that price, at that fire sale price. And what I'm finding too, specifically, is they really don't need to sell at a price that's lower than what they bought it at.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a tough sell. That you only do that when you have to pay off your home equity line of credit or something like that, or your medical bill or something like that. You only do that when you have to do that. If I to get them from to sell lower than what they bought it for, it's very difficult if they don't need to do that. That's what I'm encountering right now.
Yeah. Yeah. If their motivation's super low, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you owned it for 100 years. And then it's like, I've already owned this for 100 years. Nothing, this $40,000 you're going to offer me is not going to change my life. Right.
Sure.
The motivation's hard there. So, I often, when I talk to them about that, it's really hard. Like sometimes it's a no now, and you just have to consistently follow up with them because things change, right? And that's the thing you got to remember. Just because the lead came in today doesn't mean you're going to contract it today. You might contract on it 6 months, 10 months, 12 months from now.
Yeah.
Right. That's why you see there's anybody who's in business, you'll notice this. There's a huge lag in the beginning of your business where it's a lot of like getting leads, figuring it out, building out these systems and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll start noticing all these people like year 2, year 3, they start having a lot of success. And the reason why is because they have these old leads that have been sitting in their CRM that they've consistently kept on top of them and followed up with. Well, now they start contracting. And then also your fresh new leads are contracting as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just this bubble of like double leads that are basically getting contracted on. So like you'll see like just because they're saying no today for the 40K cash or whatever it is,
sure,
doesn't mean they won't say yes to it later on, right?
Right. Yeah. And my CRM is just filled with those leads.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to just prod every now and then, because even though the motivation is low right now, like you said, maybe in another 6 months or something like that, something will change.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Like I found I have this woman now that I use on Etsy, and she does handwritten notes for me. They're about $6 a note, and with packaging and everything like that, she'll do a fully customized handwritten note and put it in the thing and mail it out for me. With the stamp and everything like that, it's like $10, whatever. Mm-hmm. So what I'll do is I'll text her like some info. I'll say, hey, do this person, this, and like she'll go in and she'll write the note and send it to them. Mm-hmm. And it's another way to get on top, like keep in touch with them, right? You could add that into your follow-up cadence. Your follow-up doesn't necessarily always have to be a phone call. Sure. It could be another postcard, another letter. I'll take like a old Christmas card, and even though it's like not Christmas, it's July, I'll just send it and just see what happens. See if they get like it opens like a response kind of thing, or anything, man. Honestly, just anything to keep you top of mind. That's really what it is. People like to sell to people they like, not necessarily. It's not always about the money.
Oh yeah, no, that's super important. Yeah.
So, all right. So, so you don't necessarily have a lead problem, right? Because you're getting the leads. It's just not as much all the time, right, as you want.
Well, see, I like the first 3 mailers, I had a lead problem. Like no one was even picking up the phones, really.
I'm going through that now too.
Yeah.
I have mail that went out that just I'm getting no calls on.
Yeah.
Just happens.
Right. I mean, 1 month I sent out 5K and I got like 3 leads back, all of which were pretty low quality. That was mainly again to those Ohio and Michigan markets, which by the way, I've talked to quite a few people in the program, and a lot of those places seem to be black holes for mail. That's just anecdotal experiences of some of the LIA members I've talked to. So I'm kind of writing those off right now. I mean, we'll see what happens, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. But
that's how I feel about what we'll call it, like Oklahoma. I felt like it was a black hole.
Yeah, I'm getting. I mailed to Oklahoma too, and all I'm getting is undivided interest. Like I'm like, I thought I scrubbed you out here, but no, 1, 2 slip through, and they're the only people I want to sell. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is the price. So what I'm thinking is, this is just my theory. I'm here to help the customer.
Mhm.
I'm here, I need to serve their needs. I can't just think about what I want or what like everyone's telling me to do. Those customers, they need a double close. They need that higher price. They need the night. They don't care about the 90 days. Like that extra 20, 30K might make a big difference to them.
Right.
So the question is, if that's what they really want, and I'm sending out offers at 50, 60%, I'm kind of doing a disservice to a lot of people who are getting those mailers because they need it at 70, 75%. And here am I'm offering it at 50%, and
Mhm.
they're not even calling. Like that is their property just sitting on there, or it's getting hit by someone who mailed at that higher price and is like, well, we'll see what we can do with you. Like maybe we'll double close you, maybe we'll cash close you if you're amenable to that.
So that's the thing is you have to decide and identify yourself as what type of investor am I? Am I going to be double closing all these deals or am I going to be buying them, right?
Yeah.
And you need to kind of like tailor your letter that's going to fit that, right? You don't want to send a cash offer letter, but you're actually going to be double closing everybody. You need to kind of, but then again, if you say, if you're sending it out and you're double closing it, you're going to get a lower response rate.
Right. Exactly. Because these things, these details are very important, and people are savvy. Like even the old ladies, they know how to read, or they know how to pass it off to their son or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it is. They pass it off to a family member, and then they call you, and they're like a puppet master.
Exactly. But I do get the sense. I mean, this is just my opinion as a beginning land investor, that a lot of people are using the other strategy, which is they kind of frame it as a cash offer, but once you get on the call, oh, we need 90 days to do XYZ, and can you wait? And then like maybe some of those fall through and they're like, too bad, so sad. Here's your EMD or whatever.
Yeah, or nothing, because I know a lot of people are doing that. It's all right. So here's the thing: I look at house wholesaling back in early '90s, whatever it was.
Sure.
You basically offered 50% of market and got the property under contract, and you wholesaled. That's how it was, right?
Yeah.
And we did that all the way up until mid 2000s, early 2000s, something like that.
Mhm.
And then the market started getting frothy in like 2005, 2006, and kind of whatever.
Mhm.
And then 08, we had the crash. And that's when, you kind of could go back into that 50% of market value, if not less, offer.
Right.
This is a cycle we're in where right now people are like, man, I'm getting all this interest in my land. I'm not going to sell for 50% of market, right? So it's going to be harder and harder to kind of get them consistently. Oh, Brian just said he's seeing cash for land bandit signs now, this is like a cycle in exactly of houses. It's so funny.
Yeah.
So anyways, so you're going to see a lot more people are coming into this industry. So what that's going to do is more people are going to drive up the prices. The 50% offers are going to go away. The 75% offers are going to be more of like a mainstay. Eventually, people are going to start offering 80% of market and looking to sell it for 90% of market and get a 10% delta, right? And that's probably what's going to happen eventually.
Right.
Not in every market though, because the country's so big.
Yeah, of course.
But all the hot markets is what you're going to see. So then you have to decide, okay, if I could go and do some, like if I could go and work in like some tertiary markets, not the hottest markets, I could probably still offer that 50% because not as a lot of people are hitting that, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking of is like, I like working in like, I find a hot county and then I'll mail all the surrounding counties in addition to the hot county. Because maybe I'm not getting offers there, but if the other surrounding counties are looking pretty decent too, I'm going to hit them, right?
They're still getting a lot of mail though. Like this is a good strategy, so other people will use it too.
Yeah, they're still getting a lot of mail, but a lot of people are using Land Insights and stuff like that, and other different companies, and they just pick the hottest ones. They're like, let me just mail it, and you're going to get some leads, some offers, but your contract rate's going to go down, right? I feel like if you pick other markets that are a little less, or find demand in pockets, right?
Yeah.
So I just mailed a county that there's very specific demand there. People are only buying 40 to 80 acre parcels in an area. So I just mailed just those specifically. I'm looking to only buy those properties, right? Because that's where the demand is. That's what people want. Nobody's even wants the 20 acres, 5 acres, or anything like that. They like don't sell. So it's just interesting, kind of like finding those little areas.
Yeah.
And maybe working with some builders, doing some like some lots for subdivision lots, and then working with builders might be a good thing too, because builders need lots. Maybe another whole sector of your business as well.
I'm trying to. I think it's a good idea to try to build a Rolodex for that. It's just hard when you're mailing all these crazy counties and you don't have any route set yet. But that is a longer term strategy for me.
Yeah. There's so many ways to play it, and honestly, it's just consistency. You've been consistent. How long have you been into it now?
This is about 3 months now. 3 months and 10 days, something like that.
You're good though. You're actually on a good pace. It sounds like you're not really getting any traction, but you are. If you're 3 months in, you're consistently sending mail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say within the next 3 months, you should have a deal exit for damn sure.
Yeah.
Just because that's just how. I mean, it's the consistency in your marketing. If you're consistently sending that 5,000 a month, and if you're increasing that, you're gonna be good.
Yeah. I'm making some changes to my acquisitions process and my marketing a bit in my letter. But I plan on sending 10,000 from now on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like that seems upping the amount of mail definitely seems to have worked. It's just like I said, I want to be upfront with my customers, but I need to find a way to pitch that double close that doesn't send them running for the hills.
Sure. Yeah, it makes total sense, man.
Yeah, and I'm not put off by any of this. Like this isn't my first time around the block when it comes to entrepreneurship. So like blowing 15,000 mailers, or if you could call it blowing that 15,000 mailers, it's not a big deal to me. I'm in this for a long haul. When I get into things, I just don't quit, even if I don't get immediate success at the beginning. And what I think is, and I've talked to other people about this, what you're saying is spot on. Mm-hmm. This is cyclical, where we might be at that point in the timeline of the market where people, they can wait 90 days. But as I'm sure you know, like back in 2010, back in 2009, people couldn't wait 90 days for their, they couldn't wait 90 days for double close. First off, a lot of those transactions would fall through anyways, a lot more than they are right now.
Yeah.
And they need to pay their mortgage, or they need to pay this, or they need to pay that. So that's the point where you might offer some of like the crazy numbers I heard about in the past, like 30%, 20 cents on the dollar or something like that.
I know people that are still doing that. They're offering like 25%.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're like, yeah, I just mail 25%. And when I get a contract, I get a contract. That's it. Because they know when they get a deal, it's like a banger of a deal.
Right.
They just don't care. So they consistently mail like a ton of stuff and just keep it low. Sure. And when they get a deal, it's the lowest hanging fruit with the highest motivation.
Yeah.
And boom, they'll just sell.
Right. Yeah. But you have to send out a lot more mail to get that.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, his volume is insane.
Right.
And he doesn't care about it because he knows one deal will pay for like 6 months worth of mailing.
Sure.
And he'll consistently pull out a couple deals a month.
Yeah. I think that strategy, when I think about it, it works, but psychologically, it does a number on you if you're a beginner. I think
it's so wasteful
that
it makes you sick. But at the same time, if you're like, if I could get a 10x ROAS, it's just a no-brainer to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I when I see the near misses in this business, I'm like, oh yeah. Like when I first started mailing, this guy, unfortunately, he sold his land very quickly. But I had a guy that was almost ready to sign, but then he got like a way higher offer. But I could have made like $120,000 on that deal. It was in a good county. So when I see like the near misses, I'm like, I just gotta keep pulling at this thread here. But they don't come around all the time, and you just have to be in this a long time, like you and Sumner and everyone else. Like, it's just that's how you get those deals.
I'm only a year into land. This is like I've been in real estate for a while, but
right.
I started my land business last year. So I'm only a year into this, and I mean it's awesome. It's different. But I understand real estate and I understand all the stuff around it. So that's why it's like, I know how to do all this marketing and I would do all this stuff and stay consistent with all these leads. But yeah, man, it's just gotta keep pushing and just keep going. It's time in the market instead of timing the market. So
I'm not discouraged or anything. I just have to pivot a little bit and just be consistent.
Yeah. So I would say keep consistent with your mail, pushing out that 10K if you're going to get there. That's awesome. I feel like that's a sweet spot I'm noticing for a lot of investors. Hitting that 10K per month cadence is really like, that's when everybody starts seeing like a lot of success coming, because you're getting leads in and all the junk leads you're just pushing away and you're just keeping the good ones.
Yeah.
So,
it feels different psychologically, because when I was sending out just 5K to hot markets, every lead I got, I was like, oh my God, I need to grasp at straws and make this work. But when I sent out more, and you don't have to pay as much attention to the bad leads. Like, you're like, oh well, we have this and this and this. Let's do the good ones first. That's the low hanging fruit. Then we're going to move to the bad ones. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Well, awesome, man. I love it. Let's stay consistent. Let's try to. We have a sales call next Thursday.
Is it next Thursday or is it this Thursday?
13th. Yeah.
Okay.
13th to 27th.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's try to get some leads together
for
them the 13th, and let's try to call them on the 13th, and let's see what we could do if we could get something locked up on that day.
Sure.
That'd be awesome.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, man. I definitely want to try to get something done for you.
Thank you.
We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, man. Appreciate you coming on and hang out with me. This is great. I love seeing this and hearing this from other people. Like, one, it's a reality check for myself and everybody else. Like, being open and honest and saying, like, sometimes, like, yeah, this isn't working is a good thing. Actually, you should do that and be able to talk about this stuff. It's actually worth it for everybody to see. It's not all sunshine and roses. Like, there's some ups and downs in the market, and then eventually you'll hit your stride, and then you go through spurts.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I've been in. I've been in other businesses, and I mean, I notice a lot of people who get into land, this is their first business.
Yes.
And so they send out a bomb, and then they're like, well, this is stupid. But no, that's not the way this works. Like, the people who will be making millions of dollars from this, like 2 years, 3 years down the line, they're just students of the game, and they don't give up. Like, everyone else is dead, and they're the only ones standing.
Yeah, that's how it goes. That was the same thing with wholesaling. If you ever saw, the people that do well in wholesaling are the ones that are consistently mailing or consistently marketing, and they're in the market for a really long time, and then they just learn how to deal with people, and next thing you know, you're really successful. It just takes time. So just staying consistent is the best thing you can do for yourself.
For sure.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you, Preston, for coming by.
Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, man. I'll see you guys on the calls later.
All right. Have a good one.